I don't know where I belong. I got no place to call my home. All the people all around me just can't see the things that I can see. I'll find a friend, someone who'll help me understand that life won't always be this bad, and there's no reason to be sad because I'm free.
2, 3, 4.
What the fuck? Just my bloody luck. I'm drowning in a sea of fools, tortured by their stupid rules. I don't mind, I'll leave all that behind. I quit my job and quit my school and do just what I wanna do. I'm free. Yes, I'm free. Everywhere, people point and stare. A happy freak, they think it sucks. I don't fit inside their box. No 9 to 5, I just live my life. Forever playing with my toys, not like other girls and boys. Girls and boys, not like other girls and boys. Girls and boys. 'Cause I'm free, yeah, I'm free. Exactly where I wanna be, yeah, I'm free. So please don't bother me. I wish I could find the words to let you know that it's okay. You don't belong inside the herd. Forever children, we will play. We will play. Forever children, we will play. We will play.
Ta-da. Good evening, everybody.
It's funny. It did it again where it froze during the intro for me.
Did it?
And
Looks
yeah,
Looks like it might have happened the same thing for Fairlight as well, like last week. It must be a thing for us, I guess.
maybe.
Oh, look, she's back.
Sorry. I thought I messed up, but you know.
No, yeah, we never mess up, do we?
Like when I'm hugging trees, I do it so well. Technology.
Technology, not so much. Trees, I'm all
Give me
over
a tree.
I'm all over it. We got a lot of hellos to get through, don't we?
Right.
Let's get to some of these. All right. So Bernadette, she says, I am here. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Everyday Magic. Thank you guys for showing up and hanging out with us this evening. So we do appreciate it. We got Rex. Good evening to you, Rex. How are you doing? Brian White. How are you doing, Sid, my brother? Good to see you, man. How are you? Mary Beth, good evening to you. Deborah Lynn, my mother.
Aw.
What are we talking about today? Well,
Hi.
we'll just have to let the flow of the show go. Because to be fair, I wasn't even sure if I wanted to do this. To be quite fair, let me get through some of these hellos. Thank you, Bernadette. I really do appreciate that. Thank you. Hello, Irene. Good to see you. Bernadette, once again, thank you so much. We all love you and your family. Sid, thank you very much. Good morning to you, Irene. That's right. It's good morning. It's morning in Japan. I keep forgetting.
Oh yeah.
Hello, Facebook user. Hello, my sister. How are you doing? Hope you guys are having a great evening. So yeah, I can't get through all these. Hello, my sister. Hello, everybody. Sending blue hearts to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So yeah, I'm not even sure if I was even wanting to do this show this week, to be fair. I canceled all other shows. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this.
How do you
But,
feel?
well, a little anxious still. I'm still feeling a little anxious. There was a whole, this week has been a roller coaster ride for me. Emotionally wise, I've been all over the place. Sometimes you can sit there and you self sabotage yourself. You know what I mean? You're
Right.
sitting there thinking, I spent these last few years bringing awareness to this stuff like drug addiction and mental health and stuff like that. Campaigning for you're not alone and unfuck the fuckery. And then here this week, I lose my son to the same cause that I've been fighting so much to get so much attention for. So it's just been one of those weeks where it's like, do I even want to come back to do this anymore? I mean, I'm totally, and I think that's just part of the process of the grieving process.
Yeah.
Huck, well, how do you feel now that you're here? Like, feel all the love, man. You've got
Yeah.
lots of love.
I feel lots of love, and I really do appreciate it. I'm gonna take the moment now while we're on top of that subject. Thank everybody so much for all the prayers, all the love you guys was sending me during this past week. I really do appreciate it. It's meant the world to me. It's helped me get through a lot of this because you guys, it's been an amazing week as far as the connection that I was able to make with the people out here that follows what I do. I've been reading so many stories of loss, heartache, and pain where people are able to relate to what I'm going through, and I've been very humbled to see how much of a difference that I've made. Sometimes you feel like, am I making a difference doing this? Am I awakening anybody to say, I need to take a look at myself. Maybe not beat myself up so much, or fight with, depression. And I try to share my story to relate to people. So it was nice to actually read comments and some of the posts and seeing and reading how they've gotten through certain things, just hearing my stories. It's been humbling, but very hard at the same time.
Yeah, we when something like that happens, people don't know what to say. When something like this happens, except for I'm sorry. Right? Like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. But yeah, I kind of feel the same way in my situation as far as being able to connect with people and share what we've gone through, and for people to come back, it's very humbling. And then you know that you're on the right path when people are coming to you and saying, hey, just so you know, you make my days better. No matter how bad my day is going, I see one of your posts and you think, and it makes me know that I can get through it, or whatever the case may be. That's why we do what we do. And to be humble about it, yes, but soak that in and be able to receive that. I mean, there's nothing wrong in saying, fuck yeah, I'm changing lives, and I really am affecting people, because you deserve to receive that love that you so freely give away.
Well, when you start something like this, it's not I guess partly it's your intent to make the change, maybe that one person's life. But especially when I started this, it was I just felt like I needed to get my story out there. And I don't know if it was part of it was just redeeming some of my past, some of the things that I've done in my past, me doing what I'm doing now. Maybe part merit of me just trying to get some merits for the things that I've done in the past. Because I've hurt a lot of people in the past. I've done a lot of bad things in the past. And I think part of it maybe, just I want to atone for some of that,
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful that you open
That's
up
what
your
I
grief.
started for.
Yeah, that you open up your grief and let others. I mean, I've never seen anybody, everybody grieves differently, and it's really interesting for you to open your heart. I guess it's a Leo thing. I guess you just open right up and like, come on, everybody, let's,
I have been
you know.
I conditioned myself throughout the years of my life, and
Yeah.
I know that sounds rough, I guess, but maybe it's the universe's way of conditioning me for moments like this, like I've been through this week. All the things that's gone on in my life has built up to this point
Yeah.
where you lose your child, I mean, one of the worst griefs that you could possibly ever have as a parent or as a human being is losing your parent or losing your child. And I think losing your child is by far on the top of the list, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that my life has conditioned me to be able to cope with things better. I used to hide a lot of my feelings, but I was always, as a child and a teenager, a guy who was kind of like free-willed and never really cared what anybody thought about me. I just did my thing. If I was enjoying life, I didn't care what anybody else thought about it. And that was just who I was at the time. So I think that element and the hardships that I've gone through in my life kind of helped me out during this. That, and I lost my dad 4 months ago as well. So it's all kind of like, okay, do you have tears left? It was just one of those things that I'm not officially processed everything yet.
Right. I mean,
But there's nothing that says you have to. There's no time limit on this. There's no way to, it's not checking boxes and say, okay, I was angry about this. Okay, I was in denial and it didn't happen. Okay,
right.
They come in different orders.
I'm glad that you said denial, because this week, when I planned out this week's show, this Sunday show, when I did the week before ad for it, the subject was about accepting things, and how by not accepting things, you're stopping your growth. You're stopping your growth as a human being, not spiritually, because I don't want the focus of everything that we do being spiritual or in the lines of witchcraft. This is everyday lives for everyday people, and everything we do is magic. So I want that stigma to be gone. As human beings, we struggle with a lot of things, and we always want to push it off on something else. Accepting that, you know what, this week I had to accept a lot of things that I thought I've already accepted, but I really didn't, because of the death of my son. I thought I processed those feelings and those, because I spent a lot of my years of my life as a young man in my 20s and 30s with a lot of regret not being there for him, to the point that I punished myself, beat myself up almost on a daily basis. So there was that 20-year process or so of where I beat myself up continually. I told myself, I've ruined this kid's life. And I felt like I've always had to do something to redeem myself with him. It wasn't until later in my life that I realized I had to accept certain things in my life. Yes, I have made mistakes, but yes, he's an adult too. I can steer him in the right direction, but I can't accept the responsibility of his death.
Right.
Yes.
And it's a hard, cold fact. As much as you want to save your child and you want to, keep them there with you, and you want them to be in the best health and the best situations as they are growing older and having kids, and sometimes you can't control that. You have to accept the fact that you can't control that, and that's hard.
So my daughter, we're finding different things, but she has some mental issues, and she's super high functioning autistic, which we're just discovering, and she's in her early 20s. But she's been in the mental hospital multiple times, and I've had to save her life, literally put my hand in her mouth to save her life from OD. And I don't talk about this much. So, last October, she moved out of the house in the middle of the night, just didn't tell me she was leaving, just bailed. And she's 21. There's nothing I can do about it. And then she cut all communication with me. And knowing that, that's not a mentally stable thing to do, and all of the things, I didn't talk to her for 2.5 months, 2 months, almost 2.5 months, I think, before I spoke to her again. And I had to come to the realization, and this was really hard, was, what if I never see her again? And that there was a great possibility that I wouldn't, because of her mental stuff, right? And that I have no control over that, right? And that was something that like I had to take a step back, and it took me a minute to say I did everything I could. Right. I did, I did the best I could with what I was going through as well. And, are there things I regret? Of course I do. But I mean, I don't think of myself as a bad mom. And even with those things, you know what I'm saying? And I had to come to terms with the fact that, like, she's an adult and she's going to do what she's going to do. And I don't ask her whether she's taking her meds. And I don't ask her, I call her, how are you doing? And when she talks to me and she wants to talk about something, we talk about it. But I had to come to the conclusion that I could get a phone call at any time and I still could. And there's nothing I can do about that. That's a scary thought. It's a super scary thought. And then there's the part of me that, which I had to come to terms with too, where I felt guilt at first because there was almost a relief that came along with that it wouldn't be me to find her. Right. So on the side of, it's not in my control anymore. And, and that's scary in and of itself. And then there's the side that I had guilt of, that there was this relief that I wouldn't have to save her life. I wouldn't be the one finding her and going through all of those things again. Yeah.
It's tough. And
Yeah.
Just admitting that, though, just admitting the full spectrum that we feel, because
That's-
as parents, we feel the full spectrum.
it
And
was just very ironic last week when I was thinking up the idea for next week's show before we brought on our first guest, was accepting. I had no clue that the whole week long was going to be me accepting a lot more stuff that I didn't think I already had to accept. And it was a lot of soul searching and sitting, but just by myself and just thinking, okay, there's a lesson to be learned here somewhere. There's
Right.
there's a call. I have a calling. I know. It's just trying to figure out, now that this has happened in my life, how can I take this such a tragic loss and turn it into something positive? The same steps that I took to get myself sober, it was how am I going to take, once I got sober, how am I going to take all these negatives that I had in my life for the last 10 years and start turning these into something positive? Same method I had to use as I was going through this process of accepting certain things that I thought I accepted, but I just didn't accept yet, apparently.
And it might come around again,
And
like
it
cycles through. Yeah.
It's always a
We're
cycle when it
walking
comes to
this-
accepting, because our life is
Right,
always
we're walking
moving,
that
right?
spiral.
So our life is always moving, right?
Right.
So every day we're going to be presented with new situations and new scenarios in our life. So that revolving door of accepting situations and things in your life is always going to be there.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes in our life, we tend to shut that door, and we tend to lock that door, and then we tend to turn off that light, and we decide we're going to back away from that door. That's when we get stuck, and that's when that's when it's hard to find your way back out again, right? Because you stuck yourself into that dark place. I choose not to do that. I could have. I thought about it. Just before I came on this show, I didn't know. I was ready to cancel it. I didn't know if I wanted to do it. But I'm not going to let the fear of my insecurities and my anxieties and the things that I'm going through stop what needs to be heard tonight. This is a conversation not just about for me, but for all of us. We've all, whether we're on here on this show right now or people are watching this show right now, has experienced some sort of loss in their life, whether it was their mother, father, sister, a close cousin, a dear friend. We've all experienced it. We've all processed these feelings and these emotions and your different ways of grieving. This is what this show is about: is being raw, being authentic, talking about how we feel. Is it right? Is it wrong? Who cares? It's our feelings, and we're here.
I don't think feelings are right or wrong. I think that we just need to be able to sit in them and acknowledge them for what they are, right? And and really look at, like, what are you really feeling? Because if you're angry, then you're hurt, or right, like there's more to that anger than just being angry. I mean, yes, sometimes there's, in that moment you're angry, but then what made you angry, right? What was it that made you respond that way or
What
feel
was
that
it
way?
about you
Yeah,
made you so angry at someone else's situation?
right. Yeah.
That's
Yes.
hard. That's hard. That's hard because we don't like looking at all the stuff that we've done wrong in life. And trust me when I say this to you and everybody that's watching, you stop yourself from being truly happy if you don't stop and accept responsibility, what needs to be accepted. I am not telling you, I'm
Yes.
not telling you that you have to accept everything that goes on in a scenario. What I'm telling you is take a look at the scenario and accept what is yours and own it. The moment that you don't, you like I said, you hide from it, you can run from it all you want to, but it's always going to be there until you accept it. It's going to be a nagging little fly that won't go away. Just
Yes.
that's just the truth.
Yeah, and then it festers into all kinds of other things, which
Yeah,
is why I do
absolutely.
what I do, right? Because that's why I work with chakras and energy blocks and traumas and things, because I physically still carry mine with me. Like I physically built a shield around me from the wounds and the traumas because I felt like I had to carry the world with me. And now that I'm dealing with it, I wish that it would just all go away like
It
as
will.
quickly as I put it on.
It's
But
not pretty. It's not pretty. And
yeah, it's
when I
not.
tell people that about accepting scenarios and situations,
Yeah.
I say with a smile on my face, but it's not a bed of roses. It's
No, it's
not. It's a
messy
journey.
and dirty and
It's tough.
sad, and you're reliving those moments and feeling your way through them because you didn't the first time, especially if you're an addict, right? Because you didn't deal with it then. You did something to numb it,
You've numbed
right?
you
And
numbed
I've
who
used
you
all the
are.
things,
You've
or
numbed who
just
you
about all
are.
the things,
Yeah.
lots of the things
You've
to,
numbed who you are and became someone else different. And
yeah.
now that you become somebody different, it's the rebuilding process again. It's tearing those walls down of the addiction down, and then rediscovering yourself is a whole different journey. It's a struggle. It's hard.
Because you're not going back to that same person.
That's it. You have to
You're never
rebuild
going to be
yourself.
that person you were before that event happened.
That's
And
absolutely
so, yeah, how are you
100%
going
right.
to be the next version of yourself? And
Let's
do
take
you want to be an angry version of yourself? Right? Like, so that's the other question is, yeah, you can sit it and you can turn the lights off and you can set the key down, and now you're in a locked room in the dark and you can't find the key because every time you take a step you're kicking it farther away from you, right?
That's good. That's perfect.
Right, it's true. And so then we're like, until you get down on the floor and you start in one corner and you work your way across the floor to find the key, you have to work your way across the floor to find the key on your hands and knees.
Heavy.
And then you have to sit with that key in your hand. And are you ready to unlock the door? Because when you unlock the door, now you have to do the work to unlock, to
You've
get,
done the
then you
work.
have to find the door, right? Now you found the key. Now you have to go around the walls and find the door. And when you open the door, guess what? Now the responsibility and those feelings are going to hit again. And if you don't deal with them, then you just close the door again.
On that note, let's take a break. Let's take a video break. Music video break. I put together a couple of music videos for the night. One of them is going to be a memorial video that I did for my son that's passed. But I made a couple other videos as well, and I've had the honor and privilege to work with a lot of bands in the last year and a half, 2 years, and one of these bands presented me with a song, and the song's called "Hollow Ground," and it's like, hey, what can you do with this? What with this song? What kind of video can you do with this song? The band's called Blame the Sacred, and the song's called "Hollow Ground." So I took a listen and I listened to it, and I was like, this is. I already had the idea in my head what I wanted to do. I knew the song itself was powerful,
Wow.
but I wanted something to be able to go along with the video just as powerful as the song was. So it turned into like a video of people losing someone due to addiction. So this is the video, guys, for a band called Blame the Sacred. This is their video called Hollow Ground. We'll be right back. You guys are watching Everyday Magic.
Give me an H. Give me an E. Give me an R-O-I-N. What's that spell? Heroin.
Started at a party, everyone was there. She had a couple pills on a little dare, but now she's missing class and she's dropping her pom-poms. Nobody knows where she is, not even her mom. Everybody thought she was the all-American girl. So there goes the books, it's all about the score. There goes the doggy, life is such a bore. There goes the family, she's got a new friend. There goes the looks, this is the end. I guess she really was the all-American girl.
Pick up heroin and you'll throw away everything you love. Share your stories on Instagram with #heroin.
Once again, I've let you down. I made you question your worth. I told you I'm sorry, I'll put you first. Who's
Thoughts of suicide may feel impossible to overcome, but with help and support, you can find hope and meaning. Call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK to speak to a counselor, or visit suicidepreventionlifeline.org. It's free, it's confidential, it's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And even if it feels like it, you're not alone.
Ooh, you just don't realize 2 years later, I made that video about almost 2 years ago. It's just always been a passion of mine to bring awareness because I'm an addict myself. I was an addict myself. And going through the overdosing 4 times, I died once, I got brought back, and I still wasn't done yet. I still wasn't done even at that point in time in my life. And I think one of the biggest takebacks I can take for this from the biggest advice I can give parents, especially, or family members or friends, is have a little bit of understanding for the person who has it's they're not the disease. Don't treat them like they are the disease.
Yeah, for
You,
sure.
you treat the disease, which is the addiction. And it's hard, I know, because as a parent, I've had to do some choices in my life, choices that I'd say, I'm not letting you in my home anymore. You try different avenues. Maybe the tough love will work. I'll stop talking to you to get yourself sober, or you're not coming to my house if you're on anything. You're more welcome to come to my home if you're sober. Fortunately for me, I was able to see my son sober twice before he passed away. He spent a lot of his time in prison, a lot of his adult life, and part of his teenage life in prison. He started off at 17 years old and been institutionalized and has never been a free man. And he passed away at 27 years old. He spent his whole life running from the law, feeling like he's alone, under judgment. I know because I was that addict as well, who was placed under judgment from my family, friends, people I've hurt. Nobody thought in a million years that I would ever get myself straight, clean, and trying to do the right things in my life. I still have people, naysayers, that still think that I haven't, and that's okay.
They can fuck off.
My son,
Right? Yeah, exactly.
my son had a problem. It wasn't that he gave up. It wasn't that he gave up. Sometimes it's hard to get back up again.
Yeah.
A lot of people, and this is something I'll preach to everybody. Our failures don't define who we are. Our failures design some of the best and beautiful creations that we can ever make.
Yeah.
Just because we fail at something doesn't mean that we didn't complete what we needed to do. It just means we have to try again, but try it in a different way.
Right.
We're not defined by how many times we fail. And I know for my son, he suffered a bit from mental health issues as well, self-confidence. And I know partly of that has to do with me not being around like I should have been. That's where I come in and have to accept some responsibility on his mental health issues and the lack of me being there. Part of me feels, and most of us who's ever suffered from addiction themselves as a parent and then dealing with children who are addicts as well too, they see certain things, patterns in the parent throughout their young lives, and they see what your parent is doing. They want to see what this excitement, all this buzz is about, and they try because their parents, they see their parents do it. Not necessarily saying that it's being done in front of them. They just know that as a person who struggles from addiction or alcoholism, it doesn't matter what it is, that journey comes exposed.
Well, because we teach them that that's how to deal with it, right? So my grandparents were both alcoholics. My dad was a huge drinker. I drank a lot in my addictions. Like drinking is one of my things. That's something my daughter does, right? She drinks quite a bit. And I always, hey, because but that's how she saw me deal and go have a good time and, that sort of thing. And um, it's rough because we just teach them. And looking back, I go, well, of course, that's how I dealt with most things because that's what my dad did, right? That's what I watched him do. And my dad did all the drugs. And he was one of those, someone gave him something. He's like, oh, one is good, two is better. That was his theory about things. And which, by the way, that's not, like, that's not a good attitude to have, but that was always, and so that's how I dealt with it. But when we heal our generations behind us, right? And so when we heal, and then we heal our, the next generation. So, Cody just didn't give himself a chance to reap the benefits of your healing process, because of course it takes time.
And like I said, I was fortunate enough to have a few days when he first got released out of work release. Yeah, he had a few days where he was clean. We had that, because part of my process this week was dealing with guilt. And part of the guilt was, we had our first conversation when he got out, and one of the first things we said to each other is that we're not getting any younger, and we need to reconnect in a way as a father and son, and not as a friend with a friend. And that was very moving and powerful for the both of us, because it gave us an opportunity to start over with a clean slate. He had a clear, when there was conversations in the past where he wasn't processing his anger. He would tell me that I understand, Dad. I understand why you wasn't around. I get it, Dad. But he never processed it. He held it in and was just saying what I thought he probably I would want to hear, but he didn't want to acknowledge it because he didn't want to acknowledge it himself. He didn't want to look at it and actually, because it was too rough, it's too hard, it's too dark for him. Being in a lonely place where you're already fighting so many demons,
Yeah.
When you spark something up like that up, especially when you're under the influence and you're already dealing with so many things already with the meth and the heroin and the drugs that you're taking, you're not wanting to deal with anything else. And so he lashed out, and I accepted it. He needed to get it out. He needed to get it out. He needed to get that anger that was building up out. And once he got that out, he had time to process it. He was sober. We had a clean, sober conversation about, how things are. And we have to meet each other again. We had to start over. We had to meet each other at the crossroads, so to speak, and look at each other with fresh new eyes and say, all right, here, I'm not the dad that you knew 15, 20 years ago, and you're not the Cody that I knew 10 years ago. Let's build from that and build a stronger relationship than what we ever had before. So I was fortunate enough to have those conversations with him, and I feel blessed that I did, because that took away a lot of my grief of not, in my head of I wasn't there for him as a child. I'm glad that we finally had that conversation with him being sober, to where it actually was something that he understood and absorbed and contained.
Right.
But it was hard.
I think it's important. The word that has been coming through since the show began is the word validation, if I could talk. But yeah, validation. And that's important. I think that's really important that you validated, like, I totally fucking sucked and I'm willing to make it better. I think because you could have denied it, or you could have
pushed it
there's
off.
so many other things, you know what I mean? But at least you validated his pain. And it sounds like, and while you were talking about him, like, my light kept blinking and stuff. It just, and talking about addiction, because, like, it sounds like we've all had our share of it, both our own personal experiences, parents, children, whatever. But it is that open communication. And fuck, what was I going to say? Just, again, it comes back to validation. Oh, about dealing with, like, someone in your life that you care about that has that problem. It's understanding that, one, the root of addiction is a self-worth thing. We don't feel worthy, and it's so painful, but we're also disconnected from our our connection to whatever all that is, our source energy. And I I remember I used to sing at a New Thought, New Age church, and Reverend Jody would always say the opposite of addiction is God. I don't like the word God, but I feel like it's self, or it's love. It's love. And at the root of it all, it's love. And I don't know. I've got such a wealth of it because my whole life has been nothing but people with trauma and addiction. And it sounds like, your son probably was a very highly sensitive person. He probably had these gifts. And that's probably all the more numbing because he took on all the pain of all the adults around him his whole life. And then he probably found acceptance with people who are also in pain. So this is how we cope. And this is how and it's like we find coping mechanisms in our dysfunction, and we're fucking doing the best we can, man. But I don't know. I just love, 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 love. That's all. It's all love in nature, and nature is love. I don't know. I'm sorry, y'all.
No, you're perfectly fine because
Yeah.
you give us, there's a sense of, we this, like what Bernadette says right here. I've always told my daughter not to do drugs. She ended up in prison for 4 years, and she went back doing drugs. I'm waiting for that call that I hope not to get. And it's sad that we've come into a time in our lives, society itself, that we expect things like this to happen, and it's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, people probably expected me to die. People wasn't probably expecting me to live past 30.
Oh, I didn't expect me to live past 30.
I didn't either, to be fair.
To be honest, I never thought past like getting my daughter raised. Does that make sense? Like, so
Yeah.
like, my mom only lived to be 43. And so I was 23 when she passed away. I never really thought about what my life would be past 40-ish or so. My dad wasn't even sick. He was 59 when he passed away, I believe. I was 40. Yeah, I was 48 when he passed away. So, or 38 when he passed away. Yeah, so I didn't know what I was going to be doing right now when I was younger. Like, I just didn't think about it. I think that's part of what my awakening was. And my healing process really started when I was like, my kid's going to be, and I'm a single mom, you know what I mean? And so like, okay, now what am I going to do? Like, who am I? What am I? Where am I supposed to be in this? And then it was like, well, I can't keep living this way. Right. I mean, there was a point where there were days, and this was not so many years ago, where I did a lot of cocaine in a very short amount of time. Let's put it that way. Because I was one of those that my addictions didn't affect my life in the sense of I always went to work. My bills were paid, all of the things. And then
Functioning. Yeah.
I was very functioning. And so was my dad, so I learned that like you could party and have a good time, but you better get the fuck up and go to work in the morning, type of thing. And, I did a teener of coke in one day. That I don't even know how I still.
You're a rock star, baby.
Not that I was
not in a good way, but yeah, rock star. Fuck.
Yeah, I don't even know how I made it through. Like I said, it was a short amount of time, but I almost did it because I would have really been an addict. I think if I would not have, I'm like, if I overdo this, then I know that I'm gonna like just not want to do it anymore, basically, right? Like I would get sick of it because that was my thing. Mine was anything to numb. So I would drink for a while and then I'd be like, oh, that's getting out of control. And then I would take pills for a while and then I would, whatever it was, or intermix it, or I use sex to numb, all of the things, which by the way, it took me a very long time to say I was an addict because I was like, I have this under control. Right. Because I was functioning and it didn't matter what I was taking. It didn't affect my day-to-day life. And yeah. And then I realized, oh no, bitch, you are an addict of all things. Like you didn't just pick one thing. It was whatever at the moment to numb and get out of my head. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mine was alcohol and then it was meth a couple times. And then when alcohol met meth, when I discovered I could get fucked up and then do some meth, And then I was sober and I could start drinking again. That was not the best time of my life. So I feel that, man.
Yeah.
But
We all
then
have
isn't it
our
interesting?
stories. We all have
But
our stories.
isn't it interesting though that we knew, like, you know, because it is everyday magic. We had some connection to the earth. We had some connection to love. And as soon as we discovered it, we share it. As soon as we find it, we share it. As soon as we find it, we share it. And so that's the opposite of addiction is love.
Right.
And as soon as you find it, hey, you want some of this?
Right.
I got the good.
I got the good, right?
So
wait until you know, this week I also got to be a part of this last week, a friend of mine who is getting sober off of pills, and she's done the 30-day, you know, years ago went to the 30-day treatment and all of this stuff. And I said, well, this time quit counting the days. Like, you know, because she's like, those first 5 days are going to be the worst. And they were. Why? Because when she went into it, she knew it was going to suck for those first 5 days. And then it was like, okay, so now let's rethink some things. So on the fourth day, we got to have a session, and I said, okay, let's change your viewpoint on, imagine being so present in the moment when you're at your son's football game that you remember every detail.
right.
Right. Imagine being, you know what I mean? And she was like, oh my gosh. And she went back to work yesterday, and she called in. She was supposed to go Friday, and she called in and was like, I can't do it. And I was like, that's okay. Make it through the day. And then last night I messaged her. I said, so how was your day today? And she goes, this was incredible. They tried to come at me with some stuff, and I just didn't do, you know, like that. I love this. And I was like, yeah, because you get a whole new view on everything.
Right.
I'm a firm believer that finding true happiness in one's life, and I think the key is learning to love yourself completely.
Right.
Yes.
And I mean, and I've been saying it for several years. I don't feel, in personal opinion, I don't feel that you'll ever achieve true peace in your life until you learn how to accept all the facets, all the little detailed little things that goes on in your life that you, we're all guilty of it. We're all guilty.
Yeah.
We're all
We
guilty.
lie to ourselves.
We lie to
We
ourselves.
don't
We
want to
shove that
admit
stuff
to
right
it.
in the back of our head and
Right.
forget about it, you know? And
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that you face them head on, deal with them, not at once, bits and pieces, of course. It's a gradual journey, not everything. And I've been on my journey for several years now, and I've not completed mine yet.
So that's something else that today I came to the conclusion of too, was that in my process of some things today, was that it's always a growing process, right? We're never not growing or not healing from something at some point, because that is life, right? And so we don't. Yeah, like I was waiting to do all this healing to get back in another relationship because I felt like I needed to be at a certain place, which I am at that place. But like today, I had to give myself credit for that and go, hey, bitch, you've worked through so much stuff that you're always going to be growing and healing from something. And it's okay to allow a partner in, which this is a huge fucking thing for me, to allow a partner in to be a part of that now.
Aww.
What's really cool, and I'm loving where this is leading, is that you've had to do a lot of accepting today.
I did.
And what the second step for me, for my 6 steps that I do, is the first one is always accepting the situation. Yeah. And then the second one is always learning how to move on.
Yeah.
And
I started off today with, how am I going to move on from this? So just to give everyone a background, speaking on drug addiction. Today is the 7-year anniversary that my fiance OD'd. And not only did he OD, but I was in bed with him when he did it.
Fuck, it's so hard.
And it was an accidental overdose on pain medication and alcohol. And I didn't deal with it. I drank to the point where, that was probably the only time in my life where it was a little over a year after my dad had passed. And I wasn't even fully recovered from that when this happened. And I mean, I did resuscitation I did CPR on him, knowing that he, like, there was no hope. He was cold. Like, I knew when I woke up that he was not alive. And up until today, like, after that, I drank so much that, like, I did almost lose my job. That was the one time in my life where what I was doing outside of work and the decisions I was making, I was on a milligram to a milligram and a half of Xanax every day. I was already on oxycodone. Oh yeah, and I took oxycodone instant release and Flexerol, and so my daily, yeah, I mean, like, and then I would get home and drink a half bottle of Jameson before I went to bed.
God, I relate. I mean, I lost my husband to alcoholism too, but he's still walking around.
Well,
but I still relate to it. I was putting JMO under my tongue just to cope with the anxiety.
Right. Yeah. And so today I video journal, and it's like giving myself a session, because I get, and because today it was like, it's been 7 years and I haven't been able to really sleep next to someone since then. And don't touch me. Like, if we are in the bed together, you cannot touch me in any way, because it was the one time I fell asleep on someone's chest. So not only did I wake up, but, like, I was laying on him. Yeah. And
it's okay.
Heather.
This is what we're here for, Heather.
Right. This is where the fairy dust comes in.
Talked about a whole lot.
We gotta let it out. You're doing the right thing.
So much after that like, my roommate came to me and said, I'm really worried about you. People don't come to me and worry about me. I'm the one that worries about everyone else. And so today I had to, like, let it go and say, you know what? He had loved me for 20 plus years. I was the love of his life. He was super sick on many levels. That he got to die with the love of his life.
Yeah.
It was the happiest he had ever been. And with that being said, like, so he lived in Vegas and I lived in Colorado. So I actually came down to visit him when this happened. And I had to say to myself, that night he made me feel more beautiful. And we were so intimate on so many levels over the years, that those are the memories that I look back upon, right? I don't think about how sick he actually was, or his mental illness and things like that. Like, I think of all the moments, the wonderful moments that we had, because we had such intimate moments and we never had sex. And to be able to say that I loved someone and someone loved me so completely that it didn't need to have sex. And today I finally was like, I deserve to have that always in my life, right? And that he showed me how it should be. And I gave him the gift of being able to be with the love of his life when he passed, which he never thought he would be able to. And to be loved unconditionally for who he was.
It's beautiful.
That is beautiful. Like, he could have died alone. Like,
and he probably would
still
have.
That's fucking traumatic for you. Like, thanks.
Yeah.
I don't mean to laugh, but
doesn't it feel better though?
But then I think if it would have been anyone else, like, what would that have done to someone else? You know what I mean? What if he would have been at home with his mom, right? Like, what if his mom would have walked in? She was in her, 70s. Like, what if she would have been the one to find him?
But they're not you.
Huh?
They're not you.
Yeah.
And I think I think you was the only one that was going to. I think the universe knew that you was the only one that was going to be able to handle that kind of a situation.
Right. And yeah, so for him to be able to die knowing that he was loved unconditionally. I mean, he told every single person we ran into that night, every bartender, everywhere we went, he was like, look at how beautiful she is. Isn't she the most beautiful thing? Like, beautiful woman you've ever met, blah, 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 blah. Like, just, I've never felt so beautiful in my entire life and those are the things that I take away from this, and knowing that I deserve to have that in someone else.
I'm glad that you had a breakthrough today.
Thank you. It was a lot. And coming into this knowing that this was going to be our conversation tonight, you know.
It brings a different meaning to everything, doesn't it? When you're dealing with personal stuff, and then just personal stuff, you know, stuff you share out on social media to try to help others, you know, try to bring hope to others, and then here you're trying to do the same things for yourself, right? Yeah. Now here you are trying to inspire yourself again to do the things that you once did, and it's tough.
Yeah, and I started off the day with like, how am I going to get over this? And by the afternoon, I was like, I'm okay. Like, it's okay. And he's with me. And he talked to me today, and which I've never been able to do that with him before. And so that was really incredible for him to be like, babe, I'm still with you. I love you.
Powerful.
Yeah. So
the serendipity of doing the show on this day.
Yeah.
That's.
Well, and I said, you know, I was like, that's kind of, you know, it's not ironic. It's the universe. And, you know, of course it was today. Of course it was today. And if it wouldn't have been today, I probably wouldn't have shared that. You know what? That wouldn't have been what I thought of. And
divine timing.
Divine timing for sure.
Speaking of divine timing, let's play another video. I think I'm ready now to play this video. I was sitting there throughout the whole show debating when I wanted to play it, because I know it's going to be a gutter for me. This was probably one of the most hardest videos that I've had to do. I mean, I thought it was tough losing my best friend from COVID. And then I thought it was tough doing a memorial video for my father. But nothing really prepared me for doing a memorial video for my son. So that was that's when my process of my grieving really happened. Really was when I was putting my emotions and my feelings through into this video. And it's nothing spectacular, but I think it conveys how I think death is going to be for us after. I hope.
Ooh, how beautiful.
I hope. I want to be able to, I want to see trees. I want to see sunlight. I want to be in nature. And that's where I want to be when I go. So I added the elements of that to it. But yeah, it was one of the hardest videos that I've ever had to do. But yeah, just know, I know you're listening right now, Cody, and I love you. You're my firstborn and always will be. Nobody will ever be able to replace you. We've had our ups and downs, our ins and outs, but none of it will ever change, because I love you so very much. And I know at some point we will meet again, and we'll have that hug like we did before you left us. Everybody, please enjoy. I don't know if it's really enjoy, but this is my tribute to my son. We'll be right back, everybody.
Are you gone? Is this real? Scared to think, scared to feel. Everything is not inside. How could you leave me behind? Is it safer where you are? Are you free from all your scars? I hope you left behind your pain, but I will never be the same. Still I hope you find your peace, even though it's killing me. It just hurts too much to live without your light. Take me down, pull me deep into the water. Let me drown, I beg you, bury me alive. This world is just too cold to take. Ever since you got away, dear God, don't save me, let me slip away. Back to you, to a better place. Every memory haunting me. Now you're gonna finally see. You could never be replaced. these wrongs and make them right. Now there's nothing left to say. I'm a chance, now it's too late. If there is another life, and you found your paradise, take me with you. I can't do this on my own. Take me down, pull me deep into the water. Let me drown, I beg you, bury me alive. This world is just too cold to take. Ever since you got away, dear God, don't take me, let me slip away. Back to you, to a better place. You slipped away right through my hands. I'm left with